Oh, if it was ever a day to put up a sticker of two dogs high-fiving, it's today because it's our 200th episode, and we got lots of weird, crazy stuff to talk about. Let's go.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who
Got the birthday cake going on the live stream if you can see it right now. Kyle, I think we need to start so appropriately to start the 200th episode. If you're not watching, you're just listening. Kyle's holding a sticker up to the camera. Kyle, explain the sticker.
So my daughter this morning, I'm about to leave the house, and my family is always, I think their main goal is to figure out how to get on the next day's podcast. Like every night it's like they're drawing something like, will you talk about it on the podcast? Will you talk about it? So I leave I'm about to leave this morning, and my daughter runs over. They had to go to the doctor to take my youngest to the doctor yesterday, and the doctor gives stickers, and she runs. She's like, Dad, wait. Grabs the sticker and goes, slaps it on me, right on my chest, right? I had to pull it off. And she goes, look, it's you and Paul high-fiving. I was like, this is perfect because there's a little celebratory, like, you know, and then Paul, if you're not watching, it's actually so perfect because there's one dog that kind of is like tan gray, which is exactly what Paul is wearing today. And I'm in the all black. And so that's what the other dog, it's
pretty odd that I would wear this today too, because typically I was like, I'm going to change things up today for 200. I'm wearing a gray shirt. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, but we've been doing this, dude, for 200 episodes. We started in September of last year, and we literally, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think we've missed a day, like a weekday.
We have not missed a weekday, and I'll tell you what, we've had some days where it's like, oh no, last week was one of them. Oh no, what are we going to do? And it's not, you know, there's kind of this ease but unease about doing it every single day. And for, you know, I look at Glenn Lundy, who put together 500 episods and other people that do this every single day, or 1,000, sorry. Yeah. And do this every single day. And it is a true grind. Like we wake up every day and we have to commit to reading and being in the news and understanding the automotive industry and pushing and like pressing into the task that is getting this out every single day. And then our team getting it out through all the other, it is a large part of what we do. And we, you know what, I think what I love about it is we literally get to communicate. And even though if you're listening or watching, we're not having a two-way conversation. A lot of times we feel like we are, just because this launches off other conversations throughout our day, or emails or comments in LinkedIn threads or anything like that. And so it's really our ability to communicate day to day with and among the automotive industry. And so that's why we're passionate about it. We love it.
You know, just like everything in life, it's like there are no overnight successes, right? We're just getting started. Comes by doing it every day. And look, Dave Meltzer told us, don't focus on what you should stop doing, focus on how everything works together. So for us, this show, it forces us to pay attention to what is going on. It forces us to every day be in the news of automotive, of business in general, of technology, of pop culture, of NFTs, of what the kids are into. It forces us to focus on those things because we know the derivative of focusing on those things is being able to spit at any moment, right? With an understanding. Spit is hip hop terminology for like, just give some words and some lyrics, sometimes with some rhythm. Allows us to do that at any moment. So it really is like this constant level of preparation, but man, it is sometimes is a grind, and it is always rewarding. And sometimes it's just a pleasure and fun. Like today is one of those days. So we have some things to talk about today, but we're going to talk about a little bit about Ford's announcement yesterday, what they're doing with leased vehicles. We're talking about NFT.NYC, which is like the Super Bowl of NFTs. We're also going to talk a little bit about keeping people engaged for more than 90 days when they're new hires and the effect that has on longevity. So we're going to give you a little bit of a wide variety as usual.
What flavors? Just some flavors in the ice cream.
Relevant flavors in the ice cream today. However, we do have to talk about ASOTU.
We have to. It's literally
it's just a thing, because we're getting close. So here's the plan. So we're having ASOTU 11th through the 13th of September 11th through the 13th. You can pre-register for tickets at ASOTUcon.com. Lease.com. If you're an industry partner, we have very limited tickets. The only way you have the opportunity to get one is by being on that pre-registration list. We already have 3 or 4 times more people on that list than we do tickets available for industry partners. So please get yourself on the list right now, especially if you're in this community. The plan is this: we're having the big event. All the things are coming in motion. We're about to start announcing keynote speakers and featured speakers and our collaborators, which are sponsors that we've outlawed the word sponsor, because we're like, if you're going to be a part of this event and yes, financially contribute, we're counting on you to collaborate with us, because that's the nature of what we're doing. We're doing all that. We're about to start announcing all those things. And then we have a 60-day content ramp up to the show. 60 days. So
that's going to be probably the most exciting part for me, because I'm just excited to have all of the conversations, all of the content. I'm literally amped up, because you and I have been talking. We're not going to be able to be in every side stage, every single content piece that happens at the event, but we're going to be able to get to know all of these people, whether it be dealers or speakers outside of our industry or industry partners, all the way leading up to the event. So I'm actually excited about the pre-event, because I get to be a part of a lot of that. And we just get to share those conversations with everybody, from podcasts to, to preview content and blogs and all that type of stuff. And I think it's going to be really energizing for our industry, just to get that level of thought and conversations going.
That's right. So if you can be there, we really want to see you there. If you can get a ticket, we totally want to see you there. If you can't be there for whatever reason, we're looking forward to spending the next 60 days with you. Starting like mid-July, we're going to kick that off, and everyone gets to learn. Everyone gets to benefit. Everyone gets to have a little community. All right, let's get into some news. So Ford made a massive, the more I thought about this announcement, the more I'm like, but what about this? But what about that? But what about? So Ford has announced that if you buy or if you lease an EV from them, through Ford Credit, you no longer have the option to purchase it at the end of the lease. You can only renew your lease. Do that again. You can't buy it. So the residual, honestly, the residual doesn't matter. They're like, we want it back. And they say they're doing this because their plan for, they say that battery material.
It's all the battery, right? Yeah.
And they're saying, like, look, we have to keep those materials in the Ford ecosystem so we can recycle them and put them in the new. So they really are drawing a circle around their own battery supply. And they're saying, like, we're kind of like keeping it in the family, which creates a ridiculous amount of complexity for the way things have been done.
I mean, one comment that I saw yesterday, it's like, people can't trade it. No longer can they take advantage of equity.
No.
Right?
There's so many things. No, there's so many things. So it's like, if you're leasing, I'm having this conversation right now with a dealer who I'm helping, with a transaction, and they're like, well, you can finance it, or you can just lease it and then buy it at the end of your lease if that's not an issue. Like, that option is no longer on the table. So basically, Ford's saying, we're taking the EV used car supply and we're keeping it. Remember, was it just 2 weeks ago? We're like, well, maybe, where were we? Oh, I think we were at VADA. We're like, well, maybe the OEMs are like, well, we'll sell the new cars and the dealers will sell the used cars. And we were like, we were like, actually, we were like, I don't think any OEM is going to do that. And actually, this is a step in the opposite direction, where they're saying we're already moving to secure our own used car supply. Wow. So comment, Chris, no buy option sounds like renting. Yeah, that is what it is.
Since I've read this, I've been quite speechless. The trend over the last year, especially in inventory squeeze, has been to no longer allow lease returns or trades to happen at anything other than an OEM branded franchise, right? Yep. So a lot of manufacturers have moved to that level of change within a lease. And now to go, actually, you have no rights to the vehicle at the end of the lease. I mean, it's a seismic change. I mean, if you think about the way we talked about yesterday, the way we buy phones, my phone's over there. I can't.
Right. Yes. And the way we buy phones, right? We upgrade to the latest technology and we just keep cycling those through. Right. And then Apple takes those back and they do something with it. But a car is a totally different thing, right? People have an attachment to a car. There's equity situations that we're in right now that, Ford would be on the winning end of this, by far. However, you have to finance through Ford Credit in order for this to be the deal. So it's like, I think, incentives for other banks to get involved and be more aggressive on leases. with Ford EVs. However, I mean, Ford's going to bring the house. They're going to come and be like, if you lease, I mean, they're going to be giving all types of incentives and offers and make it really great. So in the end, like, this is going to create a level of competition for financing that we've never seen before, because the battery is so important to keep inside the Ford family.
I'm hearing in my head, I'm hearing Brian Benstock in early 2021 on Clubhouse saying these words. Trade.
Wait, hold on. You have to say it like Brian Benstock if you're going to do that.
I'm not good at that, but I'll try.
Okay.
He's like, I'll tell you one thing.
It's pretty good.
Apple has it down. Trade cycle management, right? And it's like, that's my best Brian Benstock.
It's good.
It's not great, right? It's just a little higher intensity level. But trade cycle management that's the key to loyalty. And we keep talking about this subscription model and getting people in brand loyalty and understanding how to maintain loyalty within a new car brand, which has constantly been a struggle for manufacturers and dealers. And this is just like required trade cycle management. And I just don't know if that's the best thing for the consumer, because actually I'm a firm believer that it's actually not the best thing for the consumer.
I'm trying to go through my head of like what options consumers will have, right? So Ford Credit's going to come to the table with massive lease incentives, right? They're going to get a great price if you lease it through Ford Credit, and either in cashback or interest rate, basically.
Yep.
And other banks are going to have to step up and do that, but they don't have the leverage to say the battery is worth X to us. But maybe they will. I don't know.
Well, and we missed the conversation this week on EV readiness. But one of the big questions on EV readiness is, are we ready to appraise and evaluate vehicles that have like battery life
based
cycle?
On battery life,
right? And I think honestly, Ford, it is a massive, just kind of like it's a massive understatement to say that dealers have the upper leg on vehicle valuations. They just do. Dealers have been better at valuing vehicles in the marketplace than any third party, including KBB, including Edmunds. It's just they know the market better than any automated system. And so for an OEM to say, we're not just going to be better at that, but we're going to be better at that in a whole new ecosystem of battery life cycle management. I mean, that it's a bold proposition for an OEM to say, like, we can do this better, especially with a whole new matrix of like requirements in vehicle valuations based on technology or software or all that type of stuff. And I don't know. It's a wild proposition.
It is a wild proposition, but like taking myself out of like my franchise retail dealer seat for a minute, putting my OEM hat on. If I know that battery supply and materials is going to be the most important constraint
without a doubt
in 3 years from now, that's the only thing that really makes you make a move like this early on. You're like, that's going to be so critical to getting more vehicles out that I'm willing to disrupt all these other things. So maybe they just know something that we don't, or they're just, like everybody else, they're taking a gamble. They're putting their chips in on that. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see if that pushes people more towards just financing, right? I mean, there's an obvious other option, right? Well, I'm just going to buy the car, right? And we'll try to get more. I mean, we'll see what financing terms do, residual values do around. But either way, there's some trouble brewing.
Gosh, yesterday we're talking about, the ability to short-term lease or rent a car, an EV. Today we're talking about this new story. It is, if you haven't figured out in the last 2 years, the retail market is literally the wild, wild west every single day. And so heads up, boots on ground at the same time is more necessary than ever.
Well,
let's keep rolling.
Speaking of the wild, wild west. Woo!
Segue.
If you are an investor in cryptocurrency, you understand that you could be shot at any moment. Right? Speaking of the wild, wild west anyway. I'm trying to right. That's what the wild, wild west was. You never knew. You're going to like bust through the doors and it's over. But an event just happened in New York City. It's called NFT.NYC. And it's basically the Super Bowl of NFTs. You should know what an NFT is by now. If you've been around here, it's a non-fungible token. It's basically a digital version of a collectible or some item or token or something that gives you access, or maybe just a piece of art. So this event drew 15,000 people and lots of digital creators, NFT creators, popular artists like the Chainsmokers and Madonna actually showed up. And so let me separate these two things for you for a second. If cryptocurrency is about payment, right? There you go. Right. This is how we tender. This is how we transact. NFTs are about building community. It's an item that you have, but it only has value because there's another community of people around that item or those things that say they have value. Think about it like trading cards. Think about it like fine art. Think about it like, I don't know, a sports team, right? The sports teams only have value because there's a community of fans that say, I love the Philadelphia Eagles. Just had to use that one. And so
very few people. No,
so the mood at the couple people. So the mood was obviously a little different because we're in the middle of the crypto winter, right? Crypto's down $2 trillion. However, the optimism around the brand building value of NFTs is higher than ever because the application to the real world will, like, I was thinking about it, Kyle. Community is like one of the basic primary human instincts.
It absolutely is. Community and connection. And I think that the people that are winning the most in the NFT space are creating really, really strong communities. We follow Gary Vee. Like, his whole NFT perspective is, how do I build community around this, right? There's a whole Discord channel, and it is creating community with events and how you take, this NFT, and just launch into, how do we have a community, and it really, like, for me, I'm starting to see this next layer of social media, right? That the NFT is actually the crafter of, how do I say, like, here's the center. It's like the better Facebook group almost, but with ownership stake.
But with proof of ownership, right? There can't be a bot in NFT ownership, right? It's got to be, it's like a deed to something. So that's why they call, like, crypto and blockchain technology Web3, right? Web 1 was websites, right? We remember those. Web 2 was social media. It was when everything became deployed on social media platforms, and that obviously became the most amount of traffic. Web 3 is blockchain technology, which is executed via smart contracts and NFT communities. It does integrate with website, just like social media, right? Integrated with web technology. Well, blockchain is going to do the same thing. And again, the element of NFTs is the fact that you can build community around a certain set of beliefs. And basically the phrase that Seth Godin coined, people like us do things like this. So if you are in retail automotive, learning more about this and paying attention to it, not just passing it off as something the kids are into, because as we also have talked about recently, Gen Z is becoming the massive buying demographic. And guess what? They all know what's up with an NFT. They actually all desire the exclusivity of having it. They desire the community that comes with it. So look, we're not saying to, like, launch a metaverse thing, unless you're Brian Kramer, like, launch a metaverse thing so people can come and join and all that. That'll come, but understanding and learning a little bit more about NFTs today and now will much more prepare you for what is coming in the future. And
I'm going to say this real quick. Like, here's the practical.
Go on, Kyle, say it
right now. Is the best community is, like, it's not created because of an NFT.
That's right.
It's exercised better when an NFT kind of comes in because there's ownership stake. So even if you don't create an NFT or have any way of engaging your community around blockchain, like, start creating community now.
Yeah.
Learn how to build community now around a brand, around a center, around a thought, an idea of people like this do, people like me do things like this, right? If you do that right now in your business, in your community, the like transition to Web3 is easy, right? You don't just, like, enter Web3 and be like, now I guess I have to build community.
Yeah.
Build community.
Same thing. It was the same principle of social media, right?
Yep.
All of a sudden, the people that, like, wearing big red hats could find each other, right? And now all of a sudden they're going on a bus trip somewhere because they found each other on social media and they use that to coordinate it. Same principle, just, for something you don't understand yet because you're old. Okay. So the next story.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, obviously. Okay, I read a really interesting article. We wanted to talk about it today. It was in the Wall Street Journal. It wasn't like a news article, but it was like a longer form article about the importance that employers are putting on a 90-day period from hire to 90 days and saying, if we can nail that 90 days, that person is going to stay for much, much longer. Obviously, with turnover being very high, it's a more increased focus. And, in automotive, this has been a conversation we've been having for a number of years, in recent memory, the last 3 or 4 years, about the onboarding process and its importance to employee retention.
Yep. Well, and so that 90 days is extremely important, and recognizing that not just the onboarding, but that initial kind of conversation of how are things going? Are you engaging well? Are we engaging you well? Do you feel confident in your job role? Is really it's the launch point for, do we get past this? Actually, it was really interesting. When I was at the auto group that I was at before I left at Nelson, this was a real intention. We had a very low turnover rate, and thankfully our HR department had a real intentionality around this 90-day window. And we actually set up a series of meetings around the 45, 60, and 90-day timeline to make sure that people made it there. And actually, the majority of our people came in through employee referrals. And the way that we incentivized employees was on the day one start date and the 90 days to say, like, hey, as someone that's referred someone, it's also your job to make sure that they make it 90 days.
That's great.
Right.
I love that.
And so, like, it was this team effort of making sure that person was trained up, engaged, ready to go. Like hey, how are you doing? Because they wanted that incentive referral at the 90 days, not just when they started, because it's not just about getting people, it's about keeping them at this point. Because if you can lower turnover, you don't have to worry about the job market.
No, you think about the amount of effort it takes to do what you said versus the amount of effort it takes to find, interview, screen, hire, onboard somebody else. It is a ridiculous disparity in the amount of time and energy you have to put into just making sure you touch base and do a good job at assimilation, which is merging them into your population, right? So in the article, a couple things. Carrier Corporation, they pair new hires with a buddy, right, who understands the company and who's going to encourage them along. That's great, because they said data shows that if they stay for 90 days, they will likely stay more than 1 year. One company in the article hired somebody to focus on onboarding and reduce turnover from 37% in January to 16% currently, right? So it's all about connection. It's all about, the company's trajectory, making sure someone at least knows that they have what they need and that they made a good decision. Adam Robinson from Hireology says this. He goes, people either go home on the first day of work and they say, I made the best decision of my life, or I think I made a mistake. There's no in between there. So the takeaway is a little more intentionality goes a really, really long way. We went a long way today. We could talk for an hour every morning, but we talked a little too long today. Thanks for celebrating our 200th episode. We got 200 more at least in us, at least. But until then, we'll see you tomorrow and get 201.